Hey guys, my name is Giordano Alisea. I'm the men's ministry leader here at Commitment Church, and I wanted to welcome you all to CTCM Radio, a station for all nations. I have with me Norby. He's the worship leader at Commitment Church, and today we're just going to get into some topics that are near and dear to my heart, are near and dear to the men's ministry here at Commitment Church, and we're going to get a little deeper, right? So for anyone who's attended one of our previous conferences that we've held here at Commitment Church, over the last 2 years, we've done our studies with the focus of how to best serve the Lord when we're at home, how to best serve the Lord when we're in the marketplace, and how to best serve the Lord when we're giving back our time to Him, right, in our servitude to the Lord. And today, we're going to kind of dive a little deeper into those topics, and Norby's going to help me out with that, so I'm excited to do that.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, let's get right into it, Norby.
Yep.
If you don't mind, just give us a little bit of background of you work here at the church, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if
Yeah.
you could just give us a little bit of background on that and how you got to Commitment, maybe.
Yeah. So I'm Norby. I've been serving at Commitment for, I guess, close to 20 years, if not more than that. I used to travel quite a bit with an evangelist before I got here. I was full-time in ministry with that team. And then once I got married, that didn't last too long because then, it was in Philly. We lived in Philly. But we always identified as our home church Commitment. And it got hard to commute so much, coming from Center City we were kind of closer to Route 1 over there and stuff. And it was like an hour and a half drive almost, kind of like outside of there coming here. So to come to church on Sundays was kind of challenging. There was a saying that pastor had in a preaching way back. He said, well, how far are you willing to go to your favorite restaurant to get a good meal? Some people, I know me, a new White Castle opens up. I want to be in that line for an hour or two, you know what I'm saying? So, and that's not like the creme de la creme type meal, you got, steaks and fish, and people go out for the big platters. And it made me think, like, you know what, my church, hey, so what if it's an hour, whatever. But I did something where, me and my wife talked and prayed about, and we saw that we identified quite a bit with this church home. Yeah. And we said, let's just bring the restaurant to us. So we just went straight to finding, getting into the rental space out here, because that's really what's the market out here. And we got, we just kept renting, and once we started settling down and having a family, we really just kind of settled into a place and just said, excellent. Okay, because this is our church home. So, so that background, I guess, when it comes to the traveling, I did a lot of, kind of presentations for the evangelist that I was working for. I produced his music. I did a lot of his video work. I actually learned a lot of that from that ministry. So I'm grateful for those moments there. And then coming here, I was able to use those skills to serve the church here. And then fast forward to now, from the singing and the playing and everything like that, I was able to, be mentored by our original worship leader here at Commitment was Mark Woodard. And I was under his wing for a lot of my youth growing up into adulthood, and he mentored me to understand what it is to worship God, the true meaning of it, and what it is to lead worship, and lead people to His presence, and all the great stuff that comes through the music and through the arts. This church is very heavy inspired by being artistic, having artists in here, and I believe even just the preaching is very, the way it's given, the way it's expressed is very artistic, the way some of our preachers are and pastors. So it's really cool. It's heavy here, the art and the love for that. So coming here, it just naturally, my wife is a singer. She's also a women's ministry leader. My kids are growing up in that ambiance. So it really got me to a place of understanding my role as a leader, not just at the church, but in my house. And it so happens that this is my job as well, full time. it really just kind of God hooked me up, because I really never really saw myself as a man that, like a man's man, like the guy that he's a mechanic or he's a construction worker or he's a police officer. He's those guys that got those important jobs. Never saw myself as that kind of dude. You know, so coming into being a full-time worship leader here at a church and working at a church, it can get confused as a very cush kind of job or environment or whatever, which there's a lot of that, but then there are those challenging situations and moments where the job part comes up, all the political parts of the job, of the things you have to perform, you have to be on time, the deadlines, the expectations, all that starts coming in, and that's where I start feeling like I need to put my big boy pants on because it's no joke. You're dealing with people, hearts, different mindsets, and all this. So, So
absolutely,
it can get very involved.
I really like the analogy too, because you mentioned that pastor said, "How far are you willing to travel for your favorite restaurant to get that food?" Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And then basically asking you, how far will you be willing to travel to feed your spirit? And your soul,
absolutely.
Right? So that's a great analogy.
That's a very big value. I think he even got me thinking. I mean, so many more values that he's taught me over the time, but that's one of those that really stuck to me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as far as when you're at home, right? Because you mentioned obviously an hour and change of travel to come to church, or if you had been employed by the church, right? If that hour and a half or whatever it was, how would that have impacted you if you had to make that commute every single day, not just on Sundays, right? And as a man of God, understanding the importance of having that time around family, and not having that because you had to spend an hour driving to work, hour from work. Can you talk a little bit about how important it would have, or how important it is that you're 5-10 minutes away versus that hour?
So it's pretty funny though. You might not like the answer. The answer is pretty much the same. It doesn't matter if I'm 5 minutes away or an hour away. Now there are unique situations. For the most part, a commute is a commute. It's gas money. It impacts you financially. And of course the time to get to, it's not like your wife can say, yo, I got an emergency. Well, I got to get there in an hour and a half, like that's the emergency even more now. It's like, you can't have me until, versus 5 minutes. But sometimes it really, it's proven from the years I've been serving in this church, 5 to 7 minutes away still feels like an eternity when an emergency pops up. When I was a new dad, first kid coming in, 5 to 7 minutes, I wish I had like a transportation device to get back home, because it felt forever to commute back home when there was and again, this is one of those like blessings that working in a full-time ministry, there's the grace to go to your like superior and be like, oh my gosh, like I just I don't know what to do, I wasn't ready, type of thing, and just I need to get out of here, and they're like, it's okay, go ahead, take care of it. Versus any other job, I think that's the kind of like the dividing line, is any other job, maybe secularly, they're not going to understand, or they do, but they're more like, you know what, I have to deal with it, so you have to deal with it, type of thing. You're not going anywhere, you have to do what you have to do because we have to make money, and it's like, I get it. So a lot of times I think one of the challenges for most people in that in that situation of distance and commutes and being apart from your family is the situation of what you're involved in at work, like the whole, you don't have the freedom of having people to understand and have the flexibility to let you kind of, do life in a healthy way. Everybody's out to get each other. Everybody's out to try to, well, I'm getting that promotion first or whatever.
The rat race.
And some of that is not even in our minds. We just want to work, get our paycheck, go home and provide for our families. But then there's these situations where you have people that are very competitive in the marketplace, and they want to, they almost feel, and they even put a whole scenario in your life that makes it look like you want to compete with them. And a lot of times you don't get the freedom to really be a family man. You're more, you see the extremes. You see either you got too much flexibility and now you're at home playing Xbox all day, or because you can work from home or do all these different things and you take advantage of it, or you have the other extreme where you never see dad at home, and he's providing but he's not home. So where's the real provision? Where's the real like what is the good provision? You know, as they say, bad sugars, good sugars. Well, what's your good sugar and what's your bad sugar in life? You know, like are you a great monetary provider? Amen. You got that. God gave you that either opportunity or skill set to provide that way. But then where's the balance come with, you know? And I still had that challenge.
Yeah.
I still had that challenge because even 5 minutes away, I wasn't really there for my family mentally. My heart was in my music. My heart was in providing for the church to grow and to have artists and have a studio and all these things that they didn't have before. I came in and said, yo, we got to do this. We got to do this. And I got so into that, so into what I love to do, especially if you have a job that you love to do. Yeah. You can get really lost in that. And now, no matter what, and I even found out, like even having my firstborn, into my second, into my third, it didn't matter. That love that was there as a father can easily be distracted, you know, by the things that you love to do. Absolutely. It's a funny thing. And I'm like, wow, but I love my kids. I love my wife. I love my family. I love my TV. Yeah. You know, it's like, so why do I get distracted, you know, by these things? And I think it's because we're wired as men to really hone in and identify with what we do. You know, it's like more than a husband, more than a father. Sometimes we just really hone in on, this is what I do.
Absolutely. It's one of the first things that when you meet someone, right? Oh, what do you do?
Right. Exactly. That's the first thing that comes out.
And that's why, like, that's one of the things that I consciously am always saying, like, all right, don't get into, even when I first meet someone, don't talk about work at all. Talk about this guy's family. Like, talk about your families. Talk about some of your hobbies, some of the other things before, because that conversation is inevitably going to happen, right? Yeah. But to the best of our ability, let's control the conversation so that it's not focused around what a typical man would find his identity in. Right. Right. And that's work, right? Yeah. It's like, oh, I am a bricklayer. Right. It's like, what about, okay, are you a father? Are you a husband? Absolutely. Are you a man of God? Before those things. Yeah. And then let's get to the bricklayer part.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very important. It's like, that's a good way to, you know, really kind of just really focus on what's really important. I mean, at the end of the day, when you leave work, you're punching out. Now who are you? Yeah. You know, like when is you as an identity, as a person created to do what now? You know, after you could just clocked out, you know, but we're really good at kind of continuing the work that we identify with, even through work, even going at home. Yeah. You know, like, you know, we'll tell our jobs, oh yeah, I'm available, call me. Yeah. You know, we'll make ourselves available to that. And that starts, you know, creating a pathway that's not healthy for the home, because, you know, wife wants you back home, kids want you back. As soon as I walk through the door, there's this culture of that has developed in my house where the kids just run to me and hug me. Hey daddy, hey daddy. Very you know, you could call it whatever Fantasyland show, just like Full House or something like that, you know, where they'll come through. They just made it a point. I think because I showed them the shows and they're like, oh, that's cool. I want to do that for Dad.
Do you have an applause machine in the house?
Yeah, I get it in my head. No, it's more like dum dum dum, and you see that it's like the dog coming like Dino or whatever, and it's like, oh my God. And there are days where I welcome it, and there are days where like, get off me, you know, like you know, I'm tired or I'm sweaty or something, you know, whatever. But yeah, it's like, it's good to think that because work doesn't really stop when you go home. No. But it's a different work, you know? It's a different work that we're required to do.
And let's build on that, because at the end of the day, right, you mentioned you take off the worker hat and you have to put on the dad hat. Yes. But underlying all of that is, again, the man of God, right? So in this situation where now I no longer have to answer to a boss, right? But now I have to answer to my family in the sense of like, all right, what are my responsibilities here as a man of God? Yeah. So while we're taking a hat off, let's say we still have a wave cap on underneath it, right? And that wave cap is, okay, I'm still a man of God, right? Yeah. So when I'm home, how am I honoring the Lord, right? Am I too tired to play with my kids, right? That's something that, all right, let me start looking back on my day. How did I get to this point? And if I'm honest, where I used to work, it was a great paying job, excellent benefits.
Yeah.
One of the things that they wanted me to do was be on the road 3 days out of the week.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Wow.
So
Okay.
3 days out of the week meant time away from my wife, newly married,
Yeah.
time away from my newborn.
Yeah.
So one of the ways that, and this is how I feel like the world tries to keep us boxed in, right?
Yeah.
The option that they gave me was, all right, when your firstborn is born, I was going to take time off to be with my family because my wife needed the help. And they said, all right, well, how about this? Instead of you taking time off, can you tell us how efficient you'll be if you work from home? Hypothetical number. I'm like, all right, maybe I can give you 40 to 50%. They're like, we'll take it. Right? What did that mean, though, when I got home, right? I still had responsibilities to my job.
Yeah.
And my wife, who was basically going through some very minor depression after the first baby, was alone.
Right.
I was in the house. I was there.
Yeah.
But because I was working from home, I was neglecting her.
Yeah.
I was neglecting my son at the time. And it didn't take long after that scenario to see that, like, all right, I can't allow the world to dictate how I'm going to be a man at home.
Yeah.